Hey, my name is Virginia Bernal, and this video is on speaking to the public, as well as why it is important to have good public speaking skills when it comes to health communication and health education. I personally, whenever I found that we were going to have this type of assignment, my first thought was, oh no, I'm going to get really nervous and my hands are going to shake, my throat's going to quiver, and it's going to sound like I'm about to start crying. This happened to me in my public speaking course that I had this past summer. It just wasn't fun. So it quite dawned on me to the fact that this was going to be through video and I wasn't going to have all of those eyes looking at me. So that would better to help make this process a little easier and for you to better understand me and not think that I'm about to break down crying. Well, why public speaking is important to health education and health communication. I recently, like I said, took that public speaking class with my professor, Carol Hunsberger, who has a master in public health. She would always say how communication, whether it be one-on-one, in a group, or in the public, as well as being verbal or nonverbal, is present in any daily thing that we do, which makes it key for understanding. That communication is what represents us and helps us to explain us, is really important. Also, our community and our country does rely on public health educators to adequately inform our country and our people of what is going on. And when such things as Ebola and anthrax scares come up, we all want to know what's going on, what is being done to fix this. Really, when Ebola came out, a lot of people seemed to be concerned about why didn't we know about this before, kind of things. I think that when health science discoveries are made, they need to be they need to inform the public as soon as possible, whether it be just of what has been found, but also what is going to be done or what needs to be done, the research that's going behind it, things like that. I feel is important for the public to know. I personally would want the public to know if a discovery was made of any type of health issue. Also, it helps to promote, prevent, and protect the public. In reference to communication at the core of effective public health from 2004 by J.M. Bernal, who has a PhD as well as a Master's of Public Health, he stated in his journal that the findings from public health professionals seem to assume that the public health information speaks for itself. This just really isn't the case. We really need to have educators to explain it to the public, not really having to offend your average person to look up an article that is written statistically and really makes no sense to them. Also, another point that he made, and I quote, he said, "Many of today's public health leaders realize that promoting health and protecting the public require both sound science and effective health communication." Sound science meaning that the information regarding the issue is current and is accurate. You want it to make sense. Also, effective health communication, meaning that the person presenting it needs to have strong public speaking skills. All of these things are very important. Public speaking is important because it's a big part of an educator to be able to present information to their target audience and clearly, well organized, so that the audience can receive it, take it in, and use it and apply it to their own lives. Also, when it comes to presenting any type of health information or presenting period, the presenter needs to be into the presentation, needs to have confidence as well as the assurance of what they're talking about. You don't want to bore your audience by just reading from a piece of paper. If you show interest and the enthusiasm adequate for the presentation, your audience will also show the same interest and the same want of knowledge when it comes to what you're presenting. According to the Community Health Education Methods, a practical guide by Robert J. Bensley and Jody M. Brookins Fisher, there's a chapter in this book called Developing Effective Presentations this chapter particularly was written by Heather Wagenschutz and Jason Riveras, that public speaking skills help to persuade and sell your audience on the idea or the topic that you're presenting to them. Health professionals do not just go write their speeches and present them. That they don't just do that type of research for their own self. They also want to do research on who they're presenting to. Whenever it comes to the audience that is going to be sitting in front of them, they want to make sure that they know their speech is accommodating to the sex, to the age, the occupation, religion, attitudes, beliefs. All of these things are taken into consideration when it comes to presenting a speech to the public, because you do not want to be presenting a speech that is for an older crowd whenever you're at a high school or middle school talking about public health and health in general. Also, the presenter needs to be dressed as well as speaking with the correct tone and the correct vocabulary to the audience, because this is also something that they look at to see if you are someone they want to take seriously, if you are someone that they want to use their information in reference to. These things are taken into consideration. The things that I would do to better my public speaking skills is practice, really. I get nervous, yes, and a few things that could also help me is maybe to get organized, to make sure I'm organized, to know what I'm talking about, to practice repeatedly. These are some of the things that I did learn in my public speaking course from my professor, Huntsberger. The great advice that she did also give is to breathe, to take those deep breaths when you come to a period or at the end of a paragraph, and to not be afraid of silence. If it is quiet for just a brief moment, do not think that that is horrible. You think it is longer in time than your audience does. Also, Ms. Huntsberger gave great advice for when it comes to repeated speech practice, to practice your speech up to 7 to 10 times. This is how many times it takes for information to be stored into long-term memory. That's what she has recommended for us to do, to use a mirror and to repeat the speech many times, just to help it to get into our minds. This was my presentation. I really appreciate all of those fellow students who chose me to watch, as well as the professor. Thank you very much, and you'll have a good one.